I'm back to ruin another childhood favorite cartoon series of ours, Tom and Jerry. Let's get right into it. Okay, Tom and Jerry were more or less the opposing sides of World War II. Tommy's the British soldiers and Jerry's the Germans. Now, which is here we go. Okay, so we need to do back before cartoons, before sound, before even cinema itself, in the Georgian era, which is where the term Tommy first arose. It's noted as far as back as 1815 and comes from the name used to show army privates how to fill in official forms, Tommy Atkins. This name became a general term for any British grunt and is significant because it strongly suggests that the term had been around for a long time and likely was familiar to the creators of Tom and Jerry. Though there's no such precise origin for Jerry, it's rather more obvious and so probably dates to the first time an English speaking nation clashed with Germans and anything more menacing than a penalty shootout. It's especially in the context of a series which began right around the time of the Battle of Britain. The choice of these names was no accident, especially since it precedes the American entry into World War II. They're also markedly different to the meaningless names selected by the other MGM cartoon characters around that time, Sniffles and Droopy. Okay, it is particularly interesting to note while Tom might seem an obvious name for a cat, as in Tomcat, he was not called that originally. In the very first cartoon, Puss Gets the Boot, he is clearly referred to as Jasper. It wasn't until the second Midnight Snack that the names Tom and Jerry appear. According to Patrick Bryan's seminal book, they came from among a contest among studio employees, but strangely, there is no mention of precisely who won it. And there had previously been another animated couple of the same name from the Van Bruin studio, but neither a cat nor a mouse were involved, and they are names whose pairing originally goes back a great deal further. Again, we must return to the Georgian era of 1821 to be precise, when Pierce Egan published the titled Life in London, or the day and night scenes of Jerry Hawthorne, Esquire, and his elegant friend Corinthian Tom. Clearly, Mr. Egan was paid by the word, but this was Tom and Jerry's first appearance in popular culture, and by no means their last. While its limited relevance is here, Simon and Garfunkel were also known by that name early in their careers. Mm. Perhaps the most disturbing thing about this theory is that Jerry is the good guy, the peace loving victim of Tom's evil schemes, but who usually wins due to his superior intelligence. Read in a wartime context, the suggestion that violence isn't a solution goes beyond the subversive and borders an outright sedition. An alternative explanation that Jerry, the GI, is no more loyal since it suggests the two allied sides were fighting each other. In either case, it's certainly worth noting that MGM was conspicuous by their absence in the field of animated allied propaganda, even at the height of the war. Tom and Jerry was a series almost entirely free of political commentary. The closest approach was 1943's Yankee Doodle Mouse, but this treats hostilities as just another setting for their usual slapstick, not different from the Wild Wild West or the Three Musketeers, Milius used in other installments. The other acknowledgement of ongoing global conflict, which I could find, was the same years as The Lonesome Mouse, with Jerry drawing a Hitler-style mustache on a picture of Tom. This seems more tokenism, especially when contrasted with Warner Brothers, who output include hugely gigantic slices of xenophobic bigotry, such as the amazing Bugs Bunny Nips the Nips. Let's see. All right, so the studio heads. Jack Warner was born in the British Commonwealth of London, Ontario, while Sam Goldwyn and Louis B. Mayer were both Eastern Europeans from Warsaw and Minsk. Respectively, Mayer didn't bother to become an American citizen until his late 20s, while Goldman was not Sam's real surname. Okay. At the risk of drifting onto some, let's see. Hollywood through the question of why would they have any interest in supporting Adolf Hitler is a bit of a problem, to say the least. However, revolution makes strange bedfellows, and both men have definitely had the potential to fall into the two areas most often suspected of attempting to undermine American values, the Jays and the Bolsheviks. When MGM moved to revive the series in the early 1960s. They used a Czech animation studio supporting communist enterprise at the height of the Cold War, right through the Cuban Missile Crisis. Seems remarkably unpatriotic, to say the least, and adds a cherry to the top of this insubstantial yet somehow intriguing illusion. So, there it is there. That's the best Tom and Jerry theory, linking them to certain propagandas dating back to the World War II. Y'all have a good one. Peace.